Join me for day 12 of trying to learn how to throw ceramic bowls. I begin by cleaning my wheel and then making it slightly wet so that the clay will adhere to it when it gets pressed down. I'm currently struggling to throw on the wheel and then take the bowl off without warping it, so I'm learning how to throw on top of a wooden bat. To achieve this, first I'll need to lay down some clay, and this will allow me to then press the bat on top of it so that it sticks to the wheel. So I lay down a small portion of clay, and just using the palm of my hands and my knuckles, I begin to flatten out the clay and spread it out across the wheel. Because of the speed of the wheel, the clay dries out pretty quick, so I need to make sure that I am constantly making it wet. Next, I will carve some small grooves equal distance into the clay that I've just laid down. This will increase the surface area and ensure that the wooden bat sticks to it. The wooden bat also needs to be wet, which I don't think I recorded in this bit of the video. After I've laid down the bat, I tap center it so that it's roughly in the center. Doesn't matter too much if it's slightly off. And then press the bat down so that it sticks to the clay. Now I'm just cleaning up the bat, ready to place the clay on top. I found if you create this triangle wedge shape before you throw the clay onto the wheel, it eliminates any bubbles that could form underneath. So again, just wetting the clay again, making sure that my hands are nice and wet. This is so that the clay doesn't stick to it. I'm just roughly centering it here before then using my index finger to press down the rim and seal the clay ball onto the bat itself. You have to be really careful when throwing on top of a bat, because too much pressure or holding the clay too tight can cause the bat to rip off the wheel itself. So I slowly begin to cone and center the clay, gripping the clay with the palm of my hands and pulling it up into these long cone-shaped forms. This allows me to make sure that the clay is nice and centered, but it also makes sure that all the clay particles are facing in a similar direction so that it is a more cohesive, smooth body. Once I've centered the clay, I now need to open up the clay, and I achieve this by sticking my thumb down through the center and slowly beginning to open up the clay, offering it up to my hand. When I feel I've achieved a desirable depth, I'm just using the stick here, and I'm looking for about 1 centimetre. I will be carving later, so I've actually left this pretty thick, so it will allow me to carve away more from the base. Once I've got a desired depth, I then open it up, ensuring I've got a nice sharp angle between the inside base of the bowl and also the bowl wall itself. I'm looking for around a 90-degree angle here. Now that I have centered and opened up the clay, it's time to begin pulling up the walls. At this point, I have my hand on the outside of the vessel, slightly lower than the hand on the inside of the vessel. I push in from both hands, and this creates a off-centered S shape in the clay. This allows me to then pull the clay walls up to the desired height. Once I've achieved that height, I'll then begin to opening up the clay, and you can see here that the opening of the vessel is starting to get wider and wider. The trick with the bowl is to pull it to the height you want and then begin to push it out. So you'll notice here now I'm really starting to push out and open up that bowl form, and with every single pull it becomes more and more bowl-like. If you push out the walls too quick, you can rip the clay or cause it to deform and wobble, so it's really important to slowly increase that opening and make sure that you are teasing out the clay. Now you can see here I'm just wanting to lift that bowl slightly high. It is a little bit short, and I'm now pushing out that bowl. And again, doing the same thing, ensuring to hold my outside hand slightly lower than the inside so that I'm bracing. You can't really see it here in the recording, but I also use a couple of my other fingers on the inside of the bowl, and this just helps brace it a little bit more as it's spinning. Using my index finger and pinching the rim, this allows me to create a nice delicate finish. I then hold the rib out and push the clay from the inside onto the rim. You can now see that we've got a really nice, clean, steep bowl. Just repeating the process on the inside. This, however, is just to remove some of that excess slip. Slip can make it really uneven when drying out. Just touching up the lip of the bowl. The lip is a really important part of the vessel as it can make it feel really delicate. Finally, just cutting in some of the feet at the bottom, removing that excess clay, and this will help with it drying out later. I did accidentally turn the wheel the wrong way and sped it up when I went to pause here, and you can see that the vessel has opened up slightly more than I had intended, but I do quite like the shape. Comment below your thoughts and don't forget to like and subscribe.